Good morning and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to welcome you to the webinar, which is dedicated to working in standard and editor and the visual editor in XTM. We are going to concentrate on the practical demo of the system, and when I'm going to show you the workbench, both in the standard version and in the visual version. So you will see the differences between them. And be able to see how easy it is actually to work in the visual and standard editor, and you will have a chance to look at all the details of it. So I would like to remind you that you are all muted at the moment, so you will have a chance to ask your questions at the end of the presentation, and when we are going to have a questions and answer session. So briefly, that's the topics for today. So how to use a standard editor. I will show you how to actually work in the standard editor, which is our standard translators interface, translators workbench, and also how to use a visual editor for a change. What are the differences between them? So you will see the exact differences between those two types of editors. And I would like to now switch to the practical, to the demo, and end this presentation for the time being. I'm sorry, I just clicked on the wrong button. And now I would like to go to the actual demo of the system where I am logged in as a linguist. So that's an important information for you. We are going to show to you, I'm going to show to you the editor, how it works in the standard and the visual format. And the linguists who are actually logged in can see the active, planned, and closed tasks. So they are now in the active tasks, which means that when I click on this on any space in here, then the system would take me to the standard editor. However, if I click on the menu icon, then I can see that there is a differentiation between the standard editor and the visual editor. So I can choose which one I would like to use. And so at the moment we are going to concentrate only on the editor, on the standard editor. I'm not going to go into details of these tabs because they are not the subject of our today's webinar. As you can see, maybe to start talking about the editor, we have to present and say a few words about this view. So that's the tasks list, and the tasks list is the list of tasks available for translators, and they are in the active one now. So you can see the due date for the project, you can see the step, the translation step type in this particular case, and the role of a translator. So Mr. John Smith, logged in J. Smith, can see now that he is supposed to translate the document, which has got 36 segments, and these are the number of words, as you can see here, and the progress bar. So the progress bar informs the user and the project manager about the actual percentage of the project which has been completed. So let me just go to the standard editor. I've just clicked on it. As you can see here, now the standard editor is available for use, and the view that you see actually consists of the following elements. So you can see the internet connection here, you can see the project name, the file name. So you can see that this is an HTML file because the file I deliberately chose is going to be used in both types of editors. And in the visual editor, at the moment, we can only process HTML files and XML files, which are configured using SSLT files. Then you can also see the number of segments, so how many segments are actually assigned to this translator, and the role. And here you can see the tabular view, so the Spanish and English language combination. So we are going to actually translate in the right-hand side. So we are working on the right-hand side in the right-hand side column, excuse me, and so you can see different types of matches available for the translators. And maybe before I go into details of how you actually translate in the editor, I would like to briefly describe to you a very important piece of information, which is the description of statuses. and the icons. So all those icons which you saw, which are on the left and on the right of the editor, are described in here. And as far as the statuses go, if you for some reason forget, let's say the meaning of those statuses and the machine types and the letters associated with those segments, then you can always refer to this help section. So you can see that if you have a red color, it means that the text should be translated, corrected, or reviewed. And if it's orange, means it must be checked. And if it's blue, then it must be corrected. This is something which is happening when the segment has been rejected by one step. So for example, if during the review stage a reviewer rejects the segment or rejects the entire translation, then it needs to be corrected by the previous step. Then you can also see, and that's the most important color, is say from the translation memory perspective, because it's a green color, which means that the segment has been completed by the linguist. It has been translated, revised, or reviewed. Revised stands for correction. And so as far as the letters go, so the letters associated with those segments, you have the letter U, which is unmatched, letter M with matched segments, and then I for in-context exact matches. So these are perfect matches, which are representative for ideal matches, and the non-translatables as well. So if you close this, then you will see the editor again. And then we have to start also by to talk about the settings. So the settings are information, the pieces of information that you would like to use during the setup of your, let's say, editor. So you can decide that, for example, you can populate the target with source, you can change the segment status automatically, yes or no. You can show machine translation matches, you can switch them on or switch them off as well. You can also show matches only in the active segments, and so on and so forth. So you can have all those settings available, and that's quite important. So the segments per page, you can decide whether you want to have 10 or 500, for example, segments per page, depending on the size of the document. So these would be then you will see the number of segments that you have chose and in the actual editor window. Let me just go back to it once again, and you can also see the shortcuts. So if you want to change certain shortcuts which are available in here, so these are the default shortcuts, you can customize them and make them new. So for example, if you are used to some shortcuts with control before an individual key, then you can use these shortcuts in here and enter a new shortcut and click on save. You can also change the size of a font and the type of a font as well. It will be only shown in the editor. It doesn't have any impact on the let's say on the file. So the font in the actual file which was uploaded will not change. And the segment filters, these are the filters which you can enable or disable. And so, for example, you can filter the show segments with comments and so on and so forth. I will show you what these filters are in here. So you can actually filter for different types of things in the editor. So for example, you can filter for red or orange status. If I click on this and apply the filter, the system would show me only those which are red or orange. So only those which I am supposed to work on, because the green ones have already been completed. So in this particular case, you have a mixture of segments that have been completed and some of them which haven't. So if I disable the filter, I have to click on this icon, on this filter icon, actually on the funnel icon, and then you can see that now all the segments are available for let's say review and translation. So when you want to translate the document, you actually enter the particular segment, and this is the first incomplete segment, so you would like to translate it. You do it manually, or in this particular case, we can use machine translation. And you can see that in this case, there are no leveraged matches shown, so no matches, either IC matches or leveraged matches are shown. And it's different for example, for this one, because if you go back to this match, then you will see that there is an IC match which is approved, showing you the translation that was used by the system itself. So those IC matches are actually the segments which have been automatically populated, and those which are M matches have to be completed by the linguists. So for this one, you can see that this is the, let's say, translation that could be acceptable or not. We're not going to go into details and debate about what is the quality of it. However, I just wanted to show you that you can use the Google Machine Translation in here, or some other machine translation engines that we support, because we support 9 different machine translation engines. And I've just clicked on this tick, and the system took this entire sentence to this place. And now I can obviously post-edit it, and if I'm happy with the translation, I can accept it. So I've just accepted the segment, and that means that the system has done the spell checking, and it highlighted the word which hasn't been found in the dictionary, which is normal because this is the proper name, and it doesn't really function in the dictionary, in the internal dictionary of the system. And however, as you can see, there is this triangle, and with the warning that there is a problem with this word, and we have to ignore it in this case. And the system has changed the color to green, and I've done it using the shortcut. So I've actually used the shortcut, which is Alt plus equal key. And this means that I accept the segment and go to the next incomplete segment. If I do it again, the system has taken me to the next segment, which I'm supposed to translate. So I do the same thing. I accept the Google Machine Translation, for example, and then I can do it either by clicking on the translated and matched or by using a shortcut. So if I click on it, let's click on this one. The system has now automatically changed it into a green color, and the translation was saved in the translation memory, which means that it can be reused now by some other members of the project or by some other people who will be working on the similar projects with the same translation memory in the future. And so that's let's say, the whole philosophy behind translating the texts. And I would like to concentrate now on some icons which are important. So this one stands for running QA on the page. So if you want to check the entire, all the segments on the page from the spell checking perspective, for example, then you have to click on this icon here. Although, as you saw, this is done automatically, but you can also double check and check the quality of the sentences and the potential spelling mistakes by clicking on this icon here. This is going to the next page with QA warnings, if there are any. This is the function which is very frequently used in Word, for example, Microsoft Word. So finding and replace, which is very useful because you can search for the entire file and for the entire phrase in the file, but you can also include segments from all files. So for example, if you have the more files to be worked on, then you would have this drop-down menu here, and then you would be able to select some phrases, for example, del, and click on find in the target version, and the system would now show those highlighted words which were found, and you can then replace them with some other word. And you can replace and find, replace all, so you can do it automatically for all words which happen to be in the text. So this one is metrics, so that's important. It's an important table which shows the number of words, characters excluding spaces, and also the word and characters in percentages. So it shows you the number of IC matches and leveraged matches, and which are part of the project. So for example, we have 24% of IC matches, 17% of leveraged matches, and 51% that is susceptible to machine translation. So then you can see also the progress of the project. So it's more than 50% now, and it means that actually 52% has been done, and 48% is supposed to be done to finish the project. You can save it as an Excel file or as a CSV file, and for your reference. And then that's the preview icon. So if you want to preview the document in the HTML format, you can click on this, and the system is now generating the HTML format of the document, which will be supposed to be downloaded in a second. So it will be highlighted in yellow. Once it's highlighted in yellow, now you can open it, and you can see that this is the preview of the file. So that's the actual HTML file, which is showing some images, some graphics, and so on and so forth. So the entire formatting of the document can be shown and can be seen, and the translators can see the context of the text to be translated by using this feature. Those icons, briefly speaking, are first of all checking the current segment, so you can check additionally the current segment for spelling mistakes. This one is for actually going to the next incomplete segment, so you can do it manually by clicking on those icons, but I showed you that it's possible to use the keyboard combination Alt+= key. Then you can also add a comment. So if you are a comment a reviewer or a corrector, for example, you can add your comments in here, but also translators can do it. So if they want to, for example, bring certain attention to some specific words or phrases for the corrector, they can also use those comments. And then this is actually going to the next segment with the comment, the previous segment with the comment, and to the next segment with the comment. Then this is showing segments with invalid inline tags. What it is? The inline tags are those elements here, which are the figures, actually numbers in the curly brackets. So you can see that they are actually, you don't see what they mean, but they are responsible usually for the formatting of the document, and they must be reproduced in the target version. If you don't do that, if you do not put them in the target version, and if I, for example, delete them and go to the next segment, the system would automatically highlight this segment, and so now you can click and you can find the segment with the invalid inline tag. This means that it will be saved in the translation memory, but it will not be included in the target file. So when you generate a target file, it will not be available, or also it will not be available in the find and replace feature. So all we need to do is to reproduce this and to have the same number of inline tags on the left and on the right. So I can use the keyboard combination of Alt+3. And now I have reproduced the number in curly brackets, and now it's available, and as you can see, the highlight disappear. This is centralizing the segment. That's the merging of the segment with the above, and it happens only for, can be done only for those segments which are separated by a dotted line. If you have a dotted line here, then you can merge those segments. That's something which is related to the decision of not saving the translation and translation memory. So if, for example, some translators decide not to save a segment in the translation memory, they have to click on it, and then they can unclick it as well. And that's very important. So restoring from segment history. So for example, if I make any change to this file, to this segment, and then if I go back to this segment and I want to restore the previous version, so I can see that I have actually used 5 different versions of this sentence. So in the past I was actually inputting some letters here. Now I have put down some other letters, and I want to go back to my previous version, which I liked most, for example. So then I click on this icon and I click on restore. And now you can see that the system restored the previous version from the history. So this is very useful when the translators want to go back to their original idea that they had while translating the text, for example. And they can do it by restoring the content from segment history. So that's the icon that is used for that. So once the translators are moving between the segments from one to another, as you can see here, that one should be approved as well. And they do it one by one. Once they finish translating the text, then they have to click on this icon here. Once you finish your work as a translator, you have to click on finish the task, as you can see. And if you do that, the automatic email would be sent to a project manager that this task has been completed, but also it will be sent to another person or the next person in the workflow. So if you have a translation, correction, and review workflow, for example, then if you are a translator, the corrector would receive an email that he or she is supposed to log into the system and start working on the file, start correcting the file. So that's the purpose of this button. It's very important because then you can finish your projects. And once you do that, when you finish your project in this way, your task would go to the closed one. So then you would see your tasks in the closed ones, and you will not have access to it anymore. That's why it's very important that you are absolutely sure that everything is finished before you actually click on this green arrow of finishing the task. Now I would like to bring your attention to the visual editor, which is available from my inbox from the active tasks. And as I was saying at the very beginning, when you click on the menu icon, you can see two options: open standard editor and visual editor. Now it's very important to see the difference. So the visual editor is sometimes called an in-context editor or WYSIWYG editor. You can see that it opens now, it is opening in the separate window. And you can see that then it is completely the view is completely different. So you can see the Spanish version, the English version, so the source and target, but then you will see those columns with the content, with the images and some graphics and logos, anything that is contained in the file. So if you scroll it down, you could see all the elements, all the context for the translation, which is very useful for the translators to work on. So they don't have to refer to the preview, and the preview is there for them. So they can also change the size of the screens of the columns. They can move it to the left or to the right. They can also get rid of the source version, for example. That's obviously not really advisable to do that. And when you click on the particular segment, then this workbench for the translators appears, where you can actually translate the text. So in this case, you can see that this is an IC match. So the I letter is shown in the segment bar, and then it's already translated because it's an I segment, so it was proposed by the system automatically, and you can then go to your next sentence. This sentence was also translated. This is also an IC match, but I'm going to actually go to the other sentences which are in Spanish, for example. So if I click on this sentence, now I can see that it hasn't been translated and must be translated because it's a match. It was matched by the machine translation before in the standard editor. However, you have to change the status to translate. If you do that, then the color would change actually, and then it's possible for this segment to be saved. We haven't translated it. I'm not an expert in Spanish. However, you can see that the philosophy behind translating is similar to the visual editor, to the standard editor, in the sense that it's you have a field for the actual translation to be filled in. And so if you just scroll it up and go to this one, you can see that it's actually the segment that we have just translated in the standard editor. So Vostro is backed by Dell's most comprehensive standard services for small businesses. This is something which was translated using the Google Machine Translation, and it's available with the translation memory with a matched segment. So here are the settings, but they are much more simplified compared to the standard editor. So you can see the options, so populating the target with the source, so you can populate the target with the source if you like to overwrite, and many translators do like to overwrite the original version with the translation. Then you can also change the fonts, the font size, actually not the font type, but the font size and the font weight. And you can also specify your own shortcuts if you would like to, if you want to use your shortcuts that you are used to using some other tools, for example. And that's adding a comment. So that's the icon for adding the comment. That is for checking the current segment, obviously checking for spelling mistakes. And that's the option of not saving the translation in translation memory. So the same one as was in the standard editor. And that's the icon which enables you to make a decision if you want to view the decoration or not. And if you actually untick it, then you can see the decoration is no longer visible. But I think that the decoration is very good because it shows you where you are in the actual file. And so all those sentences which you translate will be automatically saved on the server on the fly. They will be available for further release, further reuse and leverage. And once you finish translating the file, you also have an arrow, but it's in a different arrow, and you have to click on it to finish the task. And once you have done it, then, as I said before, the automatic email will be sent to the project manager and to other people in the workflow, and the next person in the workflow notifying him or her that she or he is supposed to start working on the project in the correction stage, for example. So that's the gist of it, and I think that I hope that my presentation about the visual editor and the standard editor was quite self-explanatory. And if you do have any questions, please do not hesitate to ask them now. I forgot to mention that it's possible to, as you are all muted, it's possible to use the questions box in your GoToWebinar interface, and it's available on the right-hand side of your screen. And there is a questions box where you can actually type in any questions you may have. Ladies and gentlemen, if you don't have any questions now, you can always ask them by writing to us. You can use this email address to actually come back to us with any questions that you may have. So training@xtm-intl.com, training@xtm-intl.com. That's the address that you can use for the potential questions. You can also visit our website for some more information about the product. So that's the xtm-intl.com. Obviously, you can also try the system if you haven't had a chance to do that before. And that's the address that you have to use, xtm-intl.com/trial, where you can register for a 30-day trial, which is free of charge. You can select a freelancer account. You can select an enterprise account as well when you log in, when you register for the trial. And so that's a trial account. And I would like to invite you to our next webinar session. So there will be some new webinar sessions advertised soon for the rest of the February. And so watch the space. And I would like to, I think we have a question here. Yes, I have a question. How can a PM open a file in the visual editor? No such option is available from the dashboard open editor language. That's a very good question. So that's actually because in order to open the visual editor, you have to go to my inbox. And to go to my inbox, when you are a project manager, you have to assign yourself a project. So it means that if I go back to this visual editor and to the listing of the tasks, then if you are a project manager, you have to assign yourself a project and start the project, and then you will have it in the active tasks. And then you will see this in the standard or visual editor. That's the only way at the moment to see the file. So if I log out as a linguist and I log in as an administrator and project manager, for example, and look at any project. So for example, I have this project prepared already. And when I go to the workflow, and I should then assign myself this translation. And for example, I am Mikołaj Lauer, and I would like to be a translator. And then I have to click on save, and then the automatic email would be sent to me, and I will have it available in my inbox. So you will see that now this brochure cost report is available for me to be translated. And so when I go to the visual editor, I can open it in the visual editor mode. That's the only way at the moment. Thank you very much for your question. Do you have some other questions? As I said before, you can always write to us. So if you, for example, have some afterthoughts after the presentation, you would like to get some more knowledge, get some more information about the things that you have seen during the webinar, or if you have some other technical or general questions and about XTM itself from the project management perspective as well, and if you are a project manager, then please do not hesitate to write to us. So I don't see any more questions cropping up. So I would like to thank you very much for your attention today, for being with us. And I hope you found this webinar interesting. And I would like to, sorry, I have another question here. Will it be possible for project managers to open files in visual mode without specifically assigning tasks to themselves in future releases? That's very interesting and that's very important, so I will make a note of it. And I will have to check our development map to actually get the answer for you. And I hope it will be available, because it is actually a very useful thing to have in the system. So let me just check it with our engineers, and I will reply to you by email, because I've got your email as from the registration report. So thank you very much for your question, next question, which is very useful. And or maybe you have some other questions as well. Okay, I don't think we have any more questions during this webinar. As we have already passed 30 minutes dedicated for this webinar, I would like to thank you very much once again for your attention, for being with us. And I would like to invite you to our next webinar sessions. And obviously I will come back with the answer to your question by email. And thank you very much, and have a good day and the rest of the day to all of you. Goodbye.